Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. Voters across the United States have headed to the polls to elect new leaders in 3 high-profile races. In New Jersey, Democrat Mickey Sherrill faces a tight contest against Republican Jack Ciattarelli in a race that's shattered spending records and is seen as a key test for both parties during the Trump presidency. In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger is fighting to keep the governor's office blue, with Trump's policies and the ongoing government shutdown shaping voter sentiment. Over in New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani is up against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent. Former President Barack Obama rallied Democrats over the weekend in New Jersey and Virginia, urging voters to push back against what he called Trump's lawlessness. US President Donald Trump has endorsed former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York City and threatened to hold back federal funds to the city if Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani wins the mayoral election on Tuesday. Trump has injected himself further into the race by crossing party lines to support Cuomo over Mamdani, and the Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa, who trails badly in public opinion polls in the heavily Democratic city. On the other hand, the US government shutdown has hit a record 35 days, matching the longest in American history. Federal workers, soldiers, and millions relying on food aid are going unpaid, while Congress remains in deadlock. Economists warn the shutdown could cost the US economy over $11 billion if it continues another week. Meanwhile, President Trump has said that food assistance for the poor will resume only once the government shutdown ends. In a post on Truth Social, Trump blamed what he called the radical left Democrats for blocking a deal in Congress. He said SNAP benefits will not be released until Democrats reopen the government. President Asif Ali Zardari has warned that India's attempt to weaponize water or violate the Indus Waters Treaty cannot and will not succeed. Speaking at the Second World Summit for Social Development in Doha, Zardari said Pakistan faces devastation from climate change and now a new threat from across the border. India held the treaty in abeyance in April after the Pahalgam incident. Pakistan termed the move an act of war and said it was considering court action, citing violations of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. Residents of northern Afghanistan have begun a cleanup operation after a powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake left at least 27 dead and almost 1,000 injured. The quake struck near the northern Afghan city of Mazar-e-Sharif early on Monday, killing at least 27 people and damaging the city's historic Blue Mosque, authorities said, though the sparsely populated epicenter meant the death toll was lower than initially feared. Some 956 people have been injured, according to the latest figures from Afghanistan's Ministry of Public Health. Authorities in Mexico's Pacific Sinaloa state have been attacked by an armed group, with the incident leaving 13 of the attackers dead. The security minister said 4 people have been detained and that authorities freed 9 people who had been kidnapped. The state has faced a wave of violence in the past year between factions of the Sinaloa cartel, and as authorities try to wrest back control of the area. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has visited troops near Dobropilya in eastern Ukraine and awarded soldiers at a frontline command post as fighting continues north of Pokrovsk. Zelensky said the visit focused on weapons, drone production, and the needs of brigades, including the Azov unit of Ukraine's National Guard. Separately, he said in a social media post that the European Commission's latest report shows Kyiv is confidently moving toward EU membership. Dick Cheney, a driving force behind the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, who was considered by presidential historians as one of the most powerful vice presidents in US history, has died at age 84. Cheney died on Monday night from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. The Republican was already a major Washington player when then Texas Governor George W. Bush chose him to be his running mate in the 2000 presidential race that Bush went on to win. China's President Xi Jinping seeks to expand mutual investment with Russia and affirms Beijing's commitment to advance ties despite turbulent external conditions. Xi met the Russian Prime Minister in Beijing at the Great Hall of the People, a day after Chinese Premier Li Qiang held a meeting with Mishustin in Hangzhou, where Li said China wanted to strengthen cooperation with Russia and defend shared security interests. The Kremlin has highlighted the significance of Mishustin's visit at a time when Russia is under major Western sanctions over its war in Ukraine and looking to stem a recent slowdown in trade with China. Australia's Defence Minister says the country's Defence Force operations to protect its sea trade routes, including through the South China Sea, are becoming more risky as Beijing undertakes the biggest military build-up in the world today. Richard Marles said in an opening speech at a Navy conference, open sea lanes, including trade routes that go through the South China Sea and East China Sea, are at the core of Australia's national interest. And former footballer David Beckham has been knighted by King Charles at Windsor Castle for his services to sport and charity. The 50-year-old former England captain received the honour more than 2 decades after his first royal recognition. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.